Hello and welcome everybody to our webinar Quality Assurance with WorkPoint 365. So we are very happy to see you all here and hope you will enjoy the webinar and hopefully learn a few things, of course. My name is Florian Neuhold and I will guide you through this webinar today. So first of all, if you have any questions, do not hesitate to put them into the Q&As. I will promise you I will have an eye on this, and we prepared also a few minutes after the presentation for the answers, of course. So today our presenter will be Asger Steffensen, our Channel Sales Director and partner of WorkPoint. So I hope Asger is ready in Copenhagen and we can start with the great presentation. We cannot hear you, Asger, but this is no problem. Now we can. No,
I'm nodding very loud. Thank you.
Now we can hear you, and I will share your presentation if you can share it to me.
Certainly. I think we should be there.
Perfect. So good luck and have fun.
Thank you very much, and welcome everybody once again. Pardon me. Today is about management systems or QA management in WorkPoint 365. For those of you who don't know anything about us, just a brief introduction, and those of you who have attended webinars before, please bear with us for a few minutes. We are a Danish software company, been around for over 20 years, and we have been focusing on building smart business applications in the Microsoft platform for all those years mainly. Today we are a full-blown software company operating almost primarily in the Microsoft 365 cloud. We do have still a bit on premise, but as you know, the world is moving to the cloud. We work with international partners, both several European countries and also a few abroad. Some of our customers, this slide is mainly to give you an idea that we span over several different industries: banking, production, manufacturing, logistics, even NGOs and public sector we're in. So we can span quite a bit. Today is, as I said, focused on how you can use WorkPoint for QA solutions. But what these customers often have in common is that clearly they are on the Microsoft 365 strategy. They are working with Microsoft 365 and trying to get the most out of that platform. They typically need business solutions of every kind. That could be for case management projects, human resource, QA, contract, legal, anything else that involves process support, a lot of document management. Typically, our customers are information and knowledge heavy. So if you're can nod to these things, you're probably going to have some benefit out of looking at what WorkPoint can do. WorkPoint management system. Some people ask questions, why is it not called QA management system? You can use both terms. We've chosen to say management system because it spans quite broad in terms of managing your whole business process environment in your organization. At least that's the setup we have developed for this. It is not to say that what I'm going to show you is something that you will have to implement in full. You can take out parts because reinventing your whole organization and the whole way of working with processes can be a big chunk. But it's possible to take parts and start smaller than the full Monty, so to say. But let's have a look. WorkPoint 365 management system. Often people, when they talk about QA, they're thinking about a handbook, quality manual, quality handbook. Lots of names for this, and that is certainly an important part, but that's not the whole thing. If you go back some decades, a handbook was paper-based. It was sitting on a shelf, and people could look up how are you supposed to do a specific job, or what kind of requirements do they have for quality, etc. Later on, people started moving this online, and it became something about business processes and looking up specific guidelines typically in a flow or similar chart. We've tried to take it a little step further because we believe that it's not just about being able to have some documents you can manage in a handbook. It's just as much about continuous improvement of your whole business. So because behind the quality manual, there's a lot of documentation work and a lot of business process descriptions. So we have decided that in order to make this a continuous improvement, you need to have a system that allows you to work continuously with improving your business processes, and also picking up all of those errors that might occur or experience that people get, being able to record that and have that to feed into the business process description. Of course, it does not exclude the handbook. That also needs to be there. So we also included quite an easy to use online handbook for publishing all that documentation. So that's kind of the overall thinking behind our very short, of course, behind our solution. When you see the solution, there will be there's typically two ways to enter a management system such as this. And the primary user would be what we have chosen to call the standard user, that just any employee in your organization basically that need to view something about a process or documentation around how to do a job, or how to what kind of quality guidelines there is. So they would be far the most most users in the organization. And then we have the management users. They would have access to the full system, being able to manage and edit and publish documents and files and all and information about the processes, audits, non-conformances, etc. So the first user, the managed user, will have a limited access to the system, and the standard users and the management users will have access to pretty much everything. As I'm today logging on as a management user, I'll have access to everything. I will kind of exemplify where the average user will see and not see when I go through this. So let's see if we can dig up a demo here. This would be my front page for my web-based interface. So what we're looking at is, those of you who have seen WorkPoint before will recognize some of the things, but for those that hasn't, I'm just going to run through a little bit of navigation and basic stuff. WorkPoint is a modular system, so it's made up by business modules, as we call them, and clicking on the top left, you are able to see that we have here 4 business modules in the solution, and for each of them I can click here and I can drill down in various views of, in this case, business processes. We also have audits, KPIs, and non-conformances. On the front page, I can also see some buttons up here where I can typically create new elements, new content. In this case, new business process, new conformity. I have more here. I can create documents and other things. These buttons will change depending on where I am. They're context sensitive. I also have a search feature. In this specific solution, we have kind of some built-in search features around, but there are always a global search feature where I can search for either documents or elements in the system, being audits, being non-conformances in the various modules. So this is the basic navigation that you can take from the top. Then on the left, we have some shortcuts to various elements in the system, and also on the front page, I have some buttons here that will bring me straight to, in this case, the handbook, non-conformances, KPIs, business processes, and audits. As I said, I'm accessing this with all the rights, all the elements is available to me. For the average user would typically only see these 2 or 3 lists here where I have access to the handbook and probably also being able to record a non-conformity that I can see here, create a non-conformity. I'll get back to what non-conformances is for those of you who are not familiar with it. But let's start with accessing this as a regular user. I'm working in somewhere in my organization, and I have the need to check something, some description about what and how a process should be done. So I will enter my handbook. This view will show me the full quality handbook. And as you can see, there are a lot of documents here. These would in principle be the full elements. There could be hundreds, even thousands of documents. Typically, they will all be PDFs. Now we have some Word files, but this is a demo setup. So just imagine they're all PDFs. Of course, it can be hard to find out where do I look. So one thing you can of course do is you can always search, do a free text search, which may bring you something, but an easier way would probably be to use the drill down feature here. This is a metadata based drill down feature, so it's fully configurable to suit any need that you may have, and I'll give an example of that in a minute. For this, let's assume I'm a user. I want to go for looking for something registered in my core process. So I'm drilling down into my core process, and I can see, okay, now we have already the list of documents is shortened a bit, and I'm going to go further. I work in development, so I'll go one step further, and now I have a very, very short list of documents. So this is very easy for me to find. If I was going in, say, in operations, I would have a different list. And if you say now we have narrowed it down, I'm working in the operations, I'm just going to do a quick search for a specific document, and I will now get my list very briefly. So it's very easy for the users to find what they're looking for. And if I want to just open the document, I can simply click on my document, and I have a preview here, and I can see the operation procedure for aircon maintenance. So this is the way I can of course open this document in full. But for the user needing to look something up, he will simply drill down, or he will do a free text search. Now, as I said, this handbook approach is fully configurable, and you can imagine that in some organizations it would be necessary to have more than just one handbook. There could be multiple areas or organization units or other things where you need to have specific things. So we've just done an example here and say we have actually added another handbook here. So let's assume we are working in a project focused business, and here we have now, clicking down, I now have my project handbook. My project is following specific stages. So I have initiation, I have planning, I have execution, I have closure, and delivery. So each of these can again be stages can have documents assigned to them. So I can quickly drill down on the initiation and find the documents I need for doing my work correctly during initiation. Now there's very limited data element here, so probably not going to show a lot, but you get the idea that when you drill down and you get the same approach as before, it's just simply a different environment, it's different metadata, it's a different setup for a different purpose. So you can have one or more handbooks in our system this way. So jumping back, as the average user, I would work with my handbook, and I would be able to look up and find work description, process description, that kind of stuff. Now, in order to make sure that we can continue to improve, apart from being able to describe a business process, it's just as easy to find out when something is not good. Non-conformances is the term we use here, and this is used for the situation where somebody discovers that something could be done better. That means it could be even a factory floor worker realizing that the welding procedure could be done smarter, or for some reason they are prone for mistakes. He could simply record a non-conformity by going to the create non-conformity, filling in this form, which will appear here, and say, okay, I have realized that we could do something here. There's title, there's a location where this happens, there's a type of non-conformity, is it a process, is it a product, it's a system, what is it, what detail can I put in, what caused this, and what action could be taken. Of course, these elements can be adapted to suit your specific needs. This is just as we've designed it in the first place, but that's configurable. And the whole idea is that this gives everybody in the organization the ability to record a suggestion. It's a suggestion box, basically. Here is something we could do better. It could also be something that is implied by change of law. Let's assume that the European Union has created a new legislation, and that the legal department in the organization realizes this will affect some of our processes. They can also raise a non-conformity like that. The bottom line is that all of the non-conformities will go into a big list. When you have this list, you have people that can go in responsible for checking non-conformities and say, we have all these non-conformities that's been recorded. We need to do something about them. What happens is that the persons responsible for monitoring non-conformities will go in, evaluate quickly what is this about, and assign a person and a process. So if this is about something a specific process, you will be able to assign this non-conformity to a specific business process, then where the business process people can then be in charge of changing the business process description to make sure this non-conformity has taken care of. Now, the business processes is a different element. So when we're looking at business process, we will see that we have business processes in preparation and we have active business process. Of course, there would be many more in a real life situation, but this is the workspace for the business process description. So if I go to my paint application process here, which is in process, I'm now looking at the workspace for documenting our business process. A business process could be a very large thing, or it could be a smaller thing. It can be, as you know, can be describing a lot of things and could be very, very heavy to document, or it could be described by a single document, depending on what we're dealing with. If we just should go through this workspace from the beginning, we have here a set of stages. Those familiar with WorkPoint will know how stages work, but basically you set up a life cycle for what's your business process going to go through. So you have preparation, you have active, and you have, in this case, closed. When you're working with the preparation, you will start describing all the elements of the business process. What you can also see here is that this business process is actually assigned to some KPIs. So there are some KPIs that should be met or at least measured against. We have here the open non-conformities, and that ties into what I talked about before. In terms of non-conformity, somebody has recorded there is a bad assembly and finish. So this is one of the non-conformities from the list I showed you before that has been assigned to this specific business process. It has been assigned a responsible. And if I want to see more detail of this business non-conformity, I can click it and I can see some metadata. I could also go straight to the non-conformity to see more details. So in here we have more information about the non-conformity. You can also see, if you go in here, you can see it is related the other way to that process I just came from. But in here we can have more information about the non-conformity, including a risk. There could be recorded risk about this because it potentially could be a very serious matter. We'll jump back to the business process. So the open non-conformity, of course, will trigger that we need to do something. Before we have taken care of and correcting whatever this is about, we can't close this one down. So now the person responsible for the non-conformities has assigned it to us working on this specific business process. So we will take care of that. we could say it will require a new description. So if I say in describing my business process, I have some documents. Those documents are the one that will eventually go out and end up in the quality manual, as we saw before. I have two lists of documents in here. I have working document and published documents. Self-explanatory almost, I'd say published documents are the ones that goes into the manual. If I go to my working documents, I will see I have here a list of procedures, description, and other things. In this case, we could choose to either update an existing one. There will be a review process. Of course, if we update something, there might be an approval process where there's some subject matter experts in the organization, or maybe even third-party experts would have to review that this process is good and right before we can publish it. When we eventually are happy with our process description, we could send it to publish. So this way we can say we can both have a review and approval flow, and we can also publish it when we're done with the description. We can also have this document audited. I'll get back to how audit works in a few minutes. Basically, there are a number of things here. If we are very happy with this document and we really think this should be forming a new template, we can also copy the document to our template library. Now, we can also, instead of updating existing, we can create a new process description. WorkPoint has, as some of you may know, a document template library that allows me to pick a template and generate a document based on that. So if we assume that we require a new process description, we will click the document button and we will give it a name. We will choose where to store it. It won't go to the published document, it will default to the document, which is good, that's where we are. We can choose folders if we want. We don't want to do anything like that, but we will pick a document template. Here we have 3 types of templates, because now we're looking at templates only relevant for documenting business processes. So let's say it's a process description. We get a preview where we can see that, hopefully, preview seems to have halted. See if we can get it to wake up. That's one preview. That's another preview. So here is my preview. I can see there's a business process tag. So the system will take information from my business process site, the name and the title, etc., and add this to this template. So I'll just check. Yes, this is the template I want. Clicking save and edit will then. That is the wrong name, so I have to go back and say I have to give it another name. Must have done a demo before. Yeah, okay, that was a mistake. Now I clicked the wrong button. Anyway, the document will be created. In this case, just I missed the template, so it's going to be an empty one. But let's open that. So when I have my description made here, I can then go into the process we talked about before, finishing the document and having it reviewed and approved and eventually published. So when I've finished with this process, I may go back to my site here and say, now we have completed our new description, and that means that we can now go and say report on this non-conformity that we have done. We have finished the description, and that means that we can now close this non-conformity, which is currently, I believe, if we go to it, in the stage of analysis. So eventually, when I've done all this stuff, we can go down and end up with the closed non-conformity. In that case, we're all happy because we have now recorded the non-conformity. We have taken action to update our business process, and then we can finish and close down our non-conformity. The handbook will then be updated with a new process description, which we just created before. Now, finally, we have audits. Some organizations are ISO certified, and they know all about when there's a certifying body coming out to review them, to audit them, to make sure that they live up to the ISO whatever certification. But audits can also be done internally in the organization. Our audit module is similar to the other setup, where we have upcoming audits, planned audits. We have supplier audits. We have some active audits. Basically, let's go and have a look at one of them. Basically, an audit will be a site where we have a set of stages we go through. So when we plan an audit, we go into the preparation. Here is where we do the all the paperwork to be ready to go and audit, whether that's a supplier audit, whether it's an audit of a single process or maybe a department or a production plant. That's something you decide. When you create the audit, you decide what is it we're going to audit here. After doing the preparation, we will go into the execution stage, and that's when we go and do the active audit, where we do recording of all the things that we need to check. We can do audits checklist in various ways. We can either have them as documents, or you could have them as underlying lists in your site, where you have individual tasks for all the checkings, and you can record all the answers, all the findings. And of course, this is also where non-conformances comes in play. Because when you, during an audit, find something that is not correct, you will then go in and create a non-conformity. As you can see, we have here some non-conformances that has been found during this audit, and that again feeds into that. When you finish your audit, you need to get before you finish your audit, you need to get your non-conformities completed and rectify what is wrong. That could be simple things, or it could be more serious things that would require an update of your business process. And that ties into what we just saw before. You can go back to you can relate these to specific business processes, and you can then have your business process people go in and complete review and change a description or documentation on the business process. So this is how audits are tied up into the whole continuous improvement thinking of this solution. So jumping back, just summing up, because I know there was a lot of information here in a very short time, and it didn't click the wrong button. The document didn't help. But anyway, we have the ability to create handbooks, one or more handbooks with an easy navigation. You can have these handbooks created by describing all your business processes or all your guidelines, and then publish them out to the handbooks. During all of this, you can have all of your employees create non-conformities when something can be improved or is plain wrong, and that can tie into improving the business process. And at the same time, you can do audits of your various sites or business process, production facilities, suppliers even, and that again will potentially find things that can be improved, again feeding into improving business process, which eventually will find a way out into your handbook description. And all of this can, of course, be tied up into any ISO certifications or other certifications that you are or your organization has. Needless to say, this is also connected to our WorkPoint Express. So if I go to my WorkPoint, my Outlook, I have here my WorkPoint Express, and I can see my full solution here with my business processes, with my audits, with my KPIs. So a user would also be able to create business process non-conformities, etc. if I'm in here, or I could go in here and work with my documents or drag and drop emails as is possible with WorkPoint Express. And of course, we can integrate this as well with Microsoft Teams. So if you work a lot with Teams, you could just as well work from Teams with your documents in the business application process. I think that mostly concludes the walkthrough of today. As I said, fairly quickly run through a fairly large solution. We're more than happy to have a more detailed discussion with you, and if you're interested, reach out to us or to our partners. If you want to see some of our reference cases, we have links to them here. You can follow us on LinkedIn, and further information is available here as well. I don't know if there has been written any questions during this. I will stop presenting and go to.
I'm back,
Florian.
Asger, and thank you very much for your presentation. I think everybody saw that it is quite easy to work in this management solution with our solution. So we have no questions. This is a very good sign, Asger, because then everybody understood and can follow you in your presentation. Like Asger said before, if you have any question or something else, you can also contact us directly or go on the homepage. We have there our customer cases as well. So you can reach us, of course, on this side as well. If I will wait a little bit until this, I will do something for other things. For example, I would say we have also next time another very, very interesting webinar. On the 2nd of December, we have the template handling with WorkPoint 365 webinar. And on Thursday, the 9th of December, we will have the webinar, which is very interesting with WorkPoint on top of SharePoint. There we will see, or we will show which possibilities we offer on top of SharePoint. So I think that's very interesting topics. And also I want to give you another interesting channel to the hand, so you can find our YouTube channel. So we worked a lot to give our YouTube channel, I would say, a little bit a facelifting. And we think we created very interesting content. So for example, in case of this webinar, we also had a tip and trick how you find process-related documents in your handbook, what Asger also showed. So I think it's very interesting. If you're interested, jump in and subscribe if you want to get more WorkPoint news. So we have still no questions. As I said, you can contact us if you want. Please check out our homepage. If you have any questions, suggestions, ideas, or problems, you can always get in contact with us, and we try to solve every problem. If there is nothing else, I would say thank you very much, Asger, as well, for the presentation. It was a pleasure, and also thank you to join the webinar, and I hope we see you on the 2nd of December of the template handling with WorkPoint 365. Have a nice day and bye.